The Intel B660 chipset series motherboard is technically the cost-effective alternative for those who want to experience the Intel 12th gen CPU without having to pay an extra buck on those features they don't need on the high-end Z690 chipset motherboards. We can see board manufacturers packing a handful of useful features on their B660 chipset motherboards, and of course, they try to make it as appealing as possible to the end users with fancy looks and of course RGB lightings for the aesthetics. Though, there are users who are not really into those, like me. So in this video, we'll be taking a look at the B660 chipset motherboard that is packed with those features and at the same time look good, clean without those RGB lightings. Yes, we'll be taking a look at the ProArt B660 Creator D4 from ASUS. Now, unlike most of the B660 chipset motherboards that are designed to cater for mainstream users, the ProArt itself, the B660 Creator D4, as according to ASUS, is specifically designed for the creators. Now, aside from the clean minimalistic creator look, ASUS actually equipped this ProArt B660 Creator D4 with quite a number of features. At first, we can take a look at the rear I/O. You can see two Ethernet ports. It's for connectivity redundancy or perhaps connection to a NAS if needed. And you'll find a handful of USB ports. Yes, that's something really useful for the creators. You get 4 USB 2 ports, 4 USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, and 1 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port. So that's plenty of USB ports for most of your device, storage, and any kind of things you can think for when it comes to what creators need with their work. And of course, let's not forget, creators will need high-speed storage for their work. So on this board, ASUS equipped it with 3 M.2 slots. So that's pretty much enough for most users to satisfy their high-speed storage needs. And one thing that differs it from other B660 motherboards which we have came across previously is that it actually comes with PCIe 5.0 x16 slot. So this is to cater for the upcoming PCIe 5 devices, which is still nowhere to be seen at the moment. But at least they are prepared for what's coming next time. So the creators will always be able to take advantage of that when it finally arrives in the market. And for the DIMM slot, because the name itself is the ProArt B660 Creator D4, it means that it will only support DDR4 memory modules. But you're given the option in BIOS to overclock them if needed, if you need to get higher memory speed. That totally depends on the type of CPU you're going for, because on most, or I can say pretty much every B660 motherboards, CPU overclocking is limited. You cannot adjust the multiplier or the V-cores. The thing is that it comes with a 12+1 phase power design, so you can say that it's more than enough to handle most use cases regardless of the CPU you're gonna choose for this motherboard. And something to take note is that your choice for the CPU is either going to be a K SKU if you want to go for high memory frequencies, or a non-K CPU if you just plan to stick with DDR4 3200. Because with a non-K SKU CPU, you are technically locked with 0.9 volt on the system agent voltage. So that means that you can't really go too high on your memory frequencies. So in order to go high on the memory frequencies, you will have to resort to the K SKU, which can be a dilemma because you are limited on the CPU overclocking capabilities as well. So for the quick performance overview on the memory and temperatures, since the B660 Creator D4 is designed for the creators, we will not be focusing too much on the system tweaking on this board. Now, even though the board can actually support DDR4 5333 according to their technical specification on the official website. It's not really something that most of the creators will be doing with their memory modules because it's too much tedious and a lot of things to deal with. So DDR4 3200, DDR4 3600 or even DDR4 4000 is a reasonable speed to go for, but that will also depend on the CPU using, just like what we mentioned earlier. And in case if you decide to go with a non-KSKU 12th gen Intel CPU, I would say DDR4 3200 is the safest option you can go for in this case. We don't have a lot of high capacities memory modules with us right now to see how well the ProArt B660 Creator D4 can handle 4 sticks of 32GB memory modules. But with what we have at the moment, we can see that it can easily handle 2 sticks of 32GB DDR4 memory modules, which total up to 64GB without any issues. And of course, because of a little bit of curiosity, we did manage to slightly tighten the original from DDR4 3200 CL22 to DDR4 3200 CL18 without any trouble. That aside, we also did some system stress tests to check if the temperatures on the motherboard, especially the chipset and VRMs, can handle well, I say. Because if you look at the design right here, we can see a lot of parts being covered. So it's one of my initial concern when I first unboxed this motherboard. And for the stress test, just in case you guys haven't followed our stress test before, it's the usual real bench and IDA 64 system stability test. So we left it running for an hour each, and the result is pretty reasonable, I say. Both the chipset and VRM temperatures only peak at around 60 degrees, which is fine because throughout the test I haven't seen any kind of alarming temperatures. So that's pretty much it for the user experience part. Overall, the ProArt B660 Creator D4 is a fine board that works just as intended. It's packed with a lot of useful features, which I think that's not only useful for creators but also non-creators user who just happen to need all these features for their daily routines maybe. The only issue I have with this motherboard is pretty much the same as what I face with other B660 motherboards, which is the dilemma to choose whether to go with a non-K or K CPU due to the limitations on the memory frequencies. Though that's not really something to worry about if you just plan to pair it with high capacity memory modules, plug it in and call it a day. Price wise, the ProArt B660 Creator D4 is retailed at 1179 ringgit, which is 1179 ringgit. I think it's probably one of the affordable B660 chipset motherboard that is packed with this amount of features, even though the price is still a little bit on the higher side. And yeah, that's all for the video today. I hope this will be useful for those of you who are planning to get this board for your next upgrade. Do give us a thumbs up if you find this video useful. Leave us a comment, let us know what do you think about the ProArt B660 Creator D4. And until then, I'll see you guys again in the next video.